Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we're digging into something we all interact with every day, but probably don't think too much about the journey our food takes to get to our plates here in Canada.
I'm really excited to dig into the data on this one.
Yeah, me too. We've got a stack of industry reports to unpack, so let's jump right in.
Sounds delicious.
So, when we talk about Canadian food systems, where do we even begin?
Well, it all starts with those hidden giants, those behind-the-scenes players that most people don't even realize exist.
Okay, so who are these hidden giants? Give us the inside scoop.
Grocery wholesalers. Companies like, Cisco and Gordon Food Service, those names might ring a bell.
Yeah, I've definitely seen their trucks around.
Exactly. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're handling way more than just, say, seafood or produce. These are general line wholesalers. We're talking everything you see on supermarket shelves, plus what supplies restaurants, schools, hospitals, even your office cafeteria.
Wow, so it's not just about stocking grocery stores. It's like the entire food service industry relies on them.
Exactly. They're the crucial link between the producers and, well, all of us who eat. And here's the thing. The reports show their success is directly tied to our spending habits as consumers.
That makes sense. The more we buy, the more they sell, right?
Right. And with the economy in recovery mode and food prices still high, their revenue has actually been boosted. We're all feeling the pinch at the checkout, but for these wholesalers, it's meant more business.
So even with inflation and economic uncertainty, people still got to eat.
Exactly. It's a basic need, and these wholesalers are capitalizing on that. But here's where it gets interesting. With these massive grocery chains popping up everywhere, I would have thought they'd have enough power to bypass these middlemen.
Yeah, cut out the wholesaler, go straight to the source seems like a power move.
And that's exactly what's happening. The reports show big retailers are increasingly going directly to producers to negotiate better deals, trying to squeeze out the middleman.
So how are these grocery wholesalers fighting back?
Well, they're having to get creative to stay competitive. Think online ordering platforms instead of relying solely on traditional sales calls, using GPS technology to optimize delivery routes, even developing private label products to offer retailers something unique they can't get elsewhere.
So it's all about efficiency and specialization, finding their niche in a changing market.
Exactly. But it's not a one-size-fits-all situation across Canada. The reports highlight some interesting regional differences.
Oh, like what?
Well, as you might expect, Ontario is dominating the grocery wholesaling scene. They've got the most establishments, the highest revenue, they're really leading the pack. But here's a curveball. Saskatchewan is emerging as a surprise growth leader.
Saskatchewan? Really? What's driving that growth in that region?
It's likely a few factors. Saskatchewan has a huge agricultural sector, so they're a major supplier of the goods these wholesalers are distributing. Plus, there might be some interesting shifts in consumer spending happening there, even with the economic uncertainty.
It's fascinating how these regional differences play out, even within a larger national system.
Absolutely. And speaking of systems, before those groceries hit the shelves, there's another crucial stop on their journey: the warehouses.
Warehouses, huh? Those massive buildings you see off the highway and kind of wonder what's going on in there.
Yeah, definitely not the most glamorous part of the food system.
Right. But essential, nonetheless. I have to admit, I don't usually think about what happens to my groceries between the farm and my fridge.
Well, you might be surprised to learn that the public storage and warehousing industry is actually a really good indicator of how the Canadian economy is doing.
Really? How so?
Think about it. When the economy is strong and people have more disposable income, what do? They buy more stuff.
Okay, makes sense. Retail therapy, right.
Exactly. And all those purchases, especially with the rise of e-commerce, need a place to hang out before they end up on store shelves or delivered right to your door.
So more online shopping equals a boom for warehouses.
Right. Although it's not quite as simple as that.
How do you mean?
Well, it's definitely been good for business, but e-commerce has also created some logistical headaches.
Oh, I bet. I can only imagine the challenges of managing all those individual orders.
Exactly. It's a whole different ball game than, say, shipping a few large pallets to a handful of retail locations.
So what are they doing differently? How are they keeping up with this whole online shopping frenzy?
Technology is key. These aren't your grandpa's dusty old warehouses anymore. We're talking about some seriously high-tech systems.
Like what?
Well, for one, they're using things like radio frequency identification tags, RFID for short. It's a much faster and more accurate way to track inventory compared to those old barcode systems.
Wow, so they're like tiny little tracking devices on everything.
Pretty much. And get this, some warehouses are even using voice-directed picking systems.
Voice directed. What is that, like a computer telling workers where to go?
Exactly. It guides them through the warehouse, telling them exactly which items to pick and where to take them to fulfill each order.
Wow, that's straight out of a sci-fi movie. But with all this automation, I think they'd need fewer workers, not more.
You'd think so, right? But here's the thing. The reports also show that warehouse wages are on the rise.
Interesting. So even with these futuristic systems, they still need human hands to get those orders out the door.
Absolutely. It seems like all that individual picking and packing required for e-commerce orders actually makes the work more labor-intensive.
Wow, who knew there was so much going on behind the scenes in those warehouses?
Right. It's a whole hidden world in there. And speaking of hidden worlds, let's move on to another major player in the Canadian food system, fast food restaurants.
Okay, so from warehouses to burgers and fries, quite a jump.
I know, right? Especially with the pandemic throwing everything for a loop.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious to know how they've fared, what trends we're seeing now.
Well, the reports actually show that they're bouncing back.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, people are craving that convenience, those comfort foods, and let's face it, a good burger and fries never really go out of style.
True. But are we still just talking about burgers and fries? With all the emphasis on healthy eating these days, I'd imagine fast food menus are evolving.
You're right, they are. The reports highlight this interesting tension between convenience and health consciousness.
What do you mean?
Well, on one hand, fast food is all about speed and indulgence, right? But on the other hand, there's a growing demand for healthier options.
So it's like they're trying to have it both ways, appeal to our desire for comfort food while also catering to our health goals.
Exactly. And it seems to be working because we're seeing more salads, smoothies, and chicken dishes popping up on those menus.
So even fast food giants are adapting to changing consumer preferences.
Absolutely. But here's a question for you. With so many big fast food chains out there, do you think there's any real competition? Or does one brand rule them all?
That's a good question. I'd have to say, just based on their presence alone, a certain company with those golden arches probably has a pretty good chunk of the market.
You'd think so, right. But the reports actually show that market share concentration in the Canadian fast food industry is quite low.
Really? That's surprising.
It is. It seems like no single chain holds a dominant position, which leaves room for smaller players and newcomers to shake things up.
So it's a real battle of the brands, each vying for our taste buds and our dollars.
Exactly. But before that burger even makes it into your hands, there's another important step in the process we need to talk about: packaging and labeling.
Oh, right. Packaging is so easy to overlook, but it's a crucial part of the whole food system. That makes sense. I never really connected the dots between my grocery shopping and the packaging industry.
It's all connected. And those companies have to strategically locate their plants near manufacturers and retailers to keep those shipping costs down.
Right, because logistics play a huge role in this whole system, too.
Absolutely. And it's a delicate dance between creating packaging that's appealing to consumers and also minimizing cost to stay competitive.
It's like they're the unsung heroes of marketing and logistics all rolled into one.
Exactly. But, this deep dive has got me thinking about something.
What's that?
Well, we've talked about the farms, the wholesalers, the warehouses, the restaurants. But what happens to all that packaging after we've unpacked our groceries?
Honestly, I don't really think about it that often. It's one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of things.
Right. But these reports do touch upon the issue of sustainability in the packaging industry.
Oh, that's good. What are they saying?
Well, it seems like there's a growing trend towards using more sustainable materials, biodegradable plastics, plant-based packaging, that kind of thing.
That's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah. And it seems like this shift is being driven both by consumer demands, which is great, but also by government regulations aimed at reducing waste.
That's a good sign, though. It seems like sustainability is becoming a bigger factor in every aspect of the food system, not just at the farm level.
I agree. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
This deep dive has really been an eye-opener. I never realized how much went on behind the scenes to get food from the farm to my plate.
It's amazing, isn't it? And it really makes you appreciate all those businesses and workers we never even see.
Absolutely. From those massive warehouses to the fast food kitchens and those meticulous packaging plants, it's a whole hidden world.
And it takes a lot of coordination to make it all run smoothly.
It really does. It's like a perfectly choreographed dance, even with all those moving parts.
Exactly. And as consumer preferences change, as technology advances, and as our understanding of things like sustainability evolves, the Canadian food system is going to keep adapting right along with it.
That's a really good point. Makes you wonder what the future holds for all of this. Will we see even more automation in those warehouses? Will fast food menus become even more health conscious? What new innovations are we going to see in sustainable packaging?
Those are all great questions, and I don't think anyone has all the answers. But I think it's safe to say the journey our food takes from farm to plate is about to get even more interesting.
I can't wait to see what the future holds. But in the meantime, I think we can all walk away from this deep dive with a newfound appreciation for every step in the process.
Absolutely. From the farmers to the truck drivers, the warehouse workers, the grocery store clerks, so many people play a role in getting food to our tables.
It's a true team effort. And next time I'm at the grocery store or grabbing a bite to eat, I'll definitely be thinking about all those hidden heroes working behind the scenes.
Me too. It's a
Oh,
delicious world out there, and we've only just scratched the surface.
well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Canadian food systems. Until next time.